Hey, what's up guys? Eystreem here with 5 brand new naturally generated structures that could be in the next Minecraft update. Or at least I really hope they are. Now I'm sure you're all familiar with our current structures, our jungle temples, villages, woodland mansions, end cities, strongholds, but are you familiar with, I don't know, say a desert sphinx? Yeah, check this out, guys. This is just one of the many awesome structures that we're going to be looking at in today's video. Not to mention, inside of this bad boy is a ton of crazy loot and challenges for you to explore. So it's going to be insane, guys. If you're excited for these structures, make sure to drop a like down below. We're in for 10,000 likes. And the more likes we get, the higher chance it is that Mojang notices this video and adds these structures into the game. So right now, guys, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell, ding, 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 if you want to see these structures in the game. And I also want to know, guys, if you could pick any structure in the world to add to Minecraft, what would it be? Let me know in the comments down below right now. I'm really keen to check those out, guys. But that's enough for me. It's time to get into our structures. Let's move on to number 1. Now, up first is our villager treehouse. These would come in all types of different shapes and sizes, with this being one of the medium-sized treehouses that you would be able to find inside your Minecraft jungles. Now, just as a quick note here, guys, we're starting off with some pretty awesome structures, but let me tell you, I'm leaving the best for last, so you definitely want to stick around for all of today's video so you do not miss out on some of the final structures in today, because they are insane. But guys, first off, we are checking out the villager treehouse. This would be the equivalent of jungle villages, because at the moment, jungles are kind of sparse. They don't really have any structures. I mean, there is the jungle temple, but that is really, really old and outdated, and villagers don't even spawn in jungles. So I think this would be a great addition to the jungle in place of villages. Instead of having, you know, a boring old village, you would actually find essentially communities of tree villages, and you could find them either like this with just, you know, 1 or 2 platforms, or maybe, guys, they could even add like 3, 4, 5 trees, depending on the size of the village. I think that would be really cool. Imagine finding a tree, I don't know, like a tree blacksmith and stuff like that. I think that'd be absolutely awesome here, guys. But let's check this out. So essentially, there would be obviously some way for you to get up into the village treehouse. And then we'd kind of come up here, round, the nice little platform down here at the side. And then from here, you would be able to climb up the vines into the actual treehouse village. Let's come all the way up here, guys, and check this out. Hi, Mr. Villager. Now, you may notice we got a potions master here. I'll explain what that is for just a second. I want to take a quick look around here. But first off, these villagers would be absolutely unique because there'd be nothing like them in the game, guys. You get an awesome view. And if you guys are just starting a brand new Minecraft world, I don't know about you, but I would love to turn this into like a small base of operations, just because you get obviously the great view. There'd be a nice little bed here for you to chill out. I mean, it'd be a great place for you to start the game and make a base, because obviously all the mobs are going to spawn down on the ground and you'll be safe up here on the treehouse. But what would be really unique about the treehouse villages is the type of villages you would find. You would find something called a potions master. Now, here's the thing. In game at the moment, we actually don't have any type of villager who sells potions. If you actually think about it, there's no villager that's dedicated to potions. Yeah, sure, you have your farmer villagers, your librarians, your clerics, your everything, but we don't have a potions villager. So which would make this guy really special. And essentially, he would trade potions. And the idea is the potion master here sells some of your extremely rare potions that, you know, are really hard to brew yourself, such as the potion of luck, potion of invisibility, and dragon's breath. Because obviously, normally, you'd only be able to get Dragon's Breath by beating the Ender Dragon. However, if you want this potion earlier in the game, you don't have that stuff yet, you would be able to find a potions master and trade with him, you know, for cookies just to get this. And I thought it'd be perfect to have this inside the jungle here, guys, because inside the jungle, you have a ton of different plants and flora and fauna you can find. And you can see we could trade cookies, vines, cocoa beans, and jungle planks, all that stuff you find in the jungle in order to get some of these more difficult potions. I think that would be really, really awesome. And honestly, it would be just the perfect setup. So all in all, this would be the perfect structure to introduce brand new players to potions and also just really add a bit of extra life to junglers, because right now, I must admit, they're kind of boring. I think this would be absolutely great. Anyway, guys, let's move on to our next structure. Now, our second structure is one you probably recognize from the start of today's video. And this here is our Desert Sphinx. Now, I'd imagine that this would be a pretty rare structure just given its gigantuan size. Probably as rare as a woodland mansion. And just like the pyramids and sphinxes built in real life by the Egyptians, this bad boy would be puzzle-based with a ton of different secrets and traps for you to kind of explore through and get a ton of incredibly rare loot, just like the pyramid tombs in real life. I'm talking like your mazes, traps, chests, parkour, all that good stuff packed into one of these. So what am I doing looking around the outside, guys? Juicy stuff is in the inside. Let's check this out. Now, this is a personal structure that I would love to see added to the game. I really want it in the game. If you guys agree with me, drop a like down below right now. But basically, what one of these things would be is they'd have kind of like a caved-in entrance here at the front of our Sphinx. And we'd come in here and you'd be fronted with a maze. Check this out, guys. Now, obviously, I've made it so currently you can kind of just fly over the maze and see exactly where you want to go. But in reality, guys, I'd imagine you'd have like barrier blocks here that would stop you from actually building over the maze, and that way you actually would be forced into completing the maze, just like adventure maps that you can download for Minecraft. So I don't know, which way should we go here, guys? Maybe through here? Now, I kind of built this map, so I know the actual way out here, guys. But I'm going to pretend like I have no idea where I'm going. What? Who knows which way the way out of this maze is? I totally do. Oh, well, that's convenient. But yeah, I know the way out of this maze, guys, but the idea is that there'd be a ton of different places you can go, and maybe even a few of these dead ends wouldn't just be dead ends, but actual traps. Just like in a desert temple, you can see here, we'd have creepers, you know, hiding away here, maybe some TNT hidden under some pressure plates. I think that would make this maze suddenly a lot more terrifying. Then we'd come in here, guys, and we'd have a little bit of parkour. Now, parkour is such an important part of Minecraft, and the interesting thing is, other than the end city, no other structure really has parkour. So I think it'd be great to have another structure with parkour here, guys, just to up the ante and make this whole thing... Oh, okay, well, I'm bad at parkour, guys. Pretend that didn't happen! So yes, as you'd imagine, guys, this wouldn't actually be super easy parkour. It'd actually be decently difficult parkour to really try and make it a bit harder to find the loot in here. And then finally, I'd imagine that this Sphinx would end in this kind of giant, it's kind of like a dungeon, guys, that you would normally find in cave systems. But instead of cave systems, if I go ahead and grab a torch here, guys, just so we can see what's going on. Basically, you would end the Sphinx with this kind of desert dungeon equivalent. As you can see, instead of having just one mob spawner, you would actually have 4, making this quite a difficult dungeon to come against and really challenge your mob fighting skills. You would have to be decently prepared with armor and tools if you were going to take on this final dungeon room. Now, there aren't a ton of mobs spawning at the moment because I've just lit up this place, but you can imagine dark. This would be an absolutely terrifying mission for you to accomplish. And then you would find treasure. Except you wouldn't, because, of course, this is a Sphinx, guys. There's just not going to be treasure out in the open. These places are known for their hidden treasure. So under one of these carpets here, guys, you'd be able to find a secret lever. And when I go ahead and flip that lever, you guys can see just over there, it's going to open up a secret chest. And we'd be able to open up this chest and have a look at this, guys. The loot in here would be insane. We're talking about your diamonds, your bottle of enchantings, really rare enchanted books like Feather Falling, Sharpness, Frostwalker, and of course a Totem of Undying, because honestly, this would be a really difficult challenge. You would not only have to get past the trapped maze, the parkour, and then you would have to fight all of these mobs and take out these mob spawners, really making it difficult, and then you'd have to find the secret chest. All in all, this would be probably one of your end game structures, and I think it'd be really, really awesome. You could even, guys, imagine instead of having a dungeon here, if they added like a boss mob, another boss mob, like a giant skeleton or something like that. That would be awesome. If you guys think that that would be cool, kind of like maybe not as difficult as the Wither, but like half difficulty, if you'd love to see a giant skeleton or a giant zombie, let me know in the comments down below. But let's move on to structure number 3. Now, up next is our Beanstalk structure, and I'm not gonna lie, I may have copied Jack and the Beanstalk just a little bit. But I thought it would be absolutely awesome to have a magical style build inside the game, because right now, everything we have is very kind of solid and real life. Like you have your temples, your woodland mansions, all of this stuff is real kind of physical stuff, whereas this is more of your magical fantasy style builds, which currently we really don't have any structures quite like this in the game. Now, obviously I had to build this, but I'd imagine when Mojang implements it, this vine would be a lot higher into the sky, and it would actually be built on these Minecraft clouds here, guys, and it would be an exception where you could actually stand on them. But obviously, I had to make do with blocks because obviously it hasn't been added to the game yet, but I do hope it will be. So let's check this out here, guys. Essentially, this would look like an average kind of beanstalk build, and you would be able to tell it's one because obviously you'd have the beanstalk here and then a bunch of grass near here at the bottom. Then you'd be able to climb up here. Now, first off, this is already getting dangerous because if you get knocked off or accidentally fall off while you're climbing up the beanstalk, well, you're gonna fall to your doom, and let me tell you, that won't be pretty. Now, at first, guys, this seems like a perfectly magical house inside the clouds and absolutely awesome. However, it is really not that at all, because you would find this house, you'd go in, and then suddenly, you would have a ton of Vex spawn in order to protect their fantasy sky home. And as you guys can see, already, now that I've entered, there would just be an absolute ton. Like, we're talking ton of Vex. You guys can see here, this turned into Vex Central, guys. Now, why would this be so bad? Now, you guys can see if I'm in survival here, if I switch it to survival, these Vex are going to come after me, and there is not a lot of room to stand here up in the sky. Like, I don't have a lot of room to stand. Well, this is awkward. Okay, I'm back, and I'm fully in netherite, and I have a totem for dying just in case, guys. But what I wanted to showcase is even if you had full armor, and, you know, you weren't taking that much damage from the Vex, because there are just so many of them, they're going to basically, like, knock you off the side of the cloud here, and you're going to fall to your doom, making it very dangerous to go ahead and explore one of these beanstalk cloud islands. Because these guys can fly through blocks and everything, you'd have to be really careful not to fall off the side, and also, of course, not die to the Vex damage as well, making this place really dangerous. So, what would be worth coming up to one of these, you know, magical sky islands if every time you came up, there just a ton of Vex appeared? Well, this would be the only way you'd be able to get shulker boxes in the overworld without having to go to an end city. So let's say, guys, you didn't want to travel all the way to an end city in order to get one of these. Well, you'd be able to find a single shulker box here in the clouds, and you'd be able to open up here, and there would be some pretty decent loot considering how difficult it would be in order to get here without falling off or dying. So you guys can see we've got some diamonds here, as well as a potion of slow falling so you can make your way down, and then an enchanted book for feather falling. So basically sky and falling related items you would be able to find inside one of these beanstalk structures. I think this would be absolutely awesome, and they could even take this and make it even bigger, guys. Maybe even make an entire city of clouds, kind of like the end city, but in the overworld. I think that would be absolutely awesome. So, I mean, we're all pretty familiar with pillager outposts. So, wouldn't it be cool if we had something just like those, but under the sea, under the sea. Oh, wait, guys, I can't sing that. I'll get copyright strike. You guys did not hear me singing that at all. But my point is, guys, imagine pillager outposts, but for drowned. As in, underwater drowned outposts. Check this out, guys. These would spawn randomly around the ocean, usually near shipwrecks, to kind of add like a bit of backstory as to why those shipwrecks have occurred. They didn't just randomly occur, they were attacked by a platoon of drowned soldiers, drowned army. I don't know how to describe it, guys. Obviously, these haven't been added to the game yet, but they would come from these drowned outposts. And if you guys check this out, so essentially there would be this kind of like training area out here at the front filled with drowned mobs. You would have some targets for them to practice their trident throwing skills, and then you would be able to come into the main part of the drowned outpost. After you defeated all these drowns, you would come in here, guys, and then here is where you would find a brand new boss mob added to the game, like a mini boss mob. Not as difficult as the Wither, but still, you know, pretty awesome and, you know, quite a challenge to take out. First off, I would like to think that it gives you mining fatigue, just like the Guardians do in the sea, what are they called? Ocean monuments. I forgot those for a minute, guys. Anyway, just like the ocean monuments, you would have mining fatigue, so you wouldn't be able to break any blocks, and you would have to fight this boss mob here. So what boss mob am I thinking of? Now, I like to think, guys, that this would be something like either a sea queen, like a giant drowned queen, and or something like a mermaid, like a killer mermaids. So they look like really pretty and totally fine, but then they would just try and absolutely destroy you guys, and they'd be able to swim super fast because of their fins. And taking one of these guys out, I would like to think dropped something like mermaid scales, which you would be able to use to essentially upgrade conduits to work throughout maybe even like the entire ocean, or, you know, just a much larger range than currently conduits work. So you would be able to get night vision and water breathing wherever you swam in the water just by using the mermaid scales. And of course, guys, that wouldn't be the only thing you get for defeating this boss, because this mini boss would be harder than a guardian, easier than a wither, so still pretty difficult. Once you defeat them, you would lose your mining haste, so you'd be able to destroy blocks again, and you'd be able to destroy these blocks here to reveal in this hidden chest, and you'd be able to get a ton of absolutely awesome ocean-themed loot. We're talking Depth Strider, Aqua Affinity enchantments. Of course, this would be a guaranteed trident. So you wouldn't have to go looking around for Drown to try and grab one. You would be guaranteed to get a trident inside this Drowned Outpost, Nautilus shells, Heart of the Sea, Bottle of Enchanting, water breathing potions, all that good stuff. However, there would also be one other secret chest you'd be able to find. So if you guys defeated all of the Drowned here and, you know, you lost your mining fatigue, you'd actually be able to swim up here to this tower and swim through the broken window here, and all the way down you'll notice that there is a trapdoor here. We'd open this trapdoor here, and you guys can see we swim down into here, and it's 1 block wide. So you would need to swim in order to get through this secret passageway, and this would take you into a secret room hidden inside the Drowned Outpost, full of beautiful golden blocks, and then barrels here filled with, you know, just other sea-related stuff. This would be a really great source of food very early on in the game, and of course, a great source of gold, kind of linking in here with the ocean monuments as well. But these would be absolutely awesome just for the backstory to explain why shipwrecks happen. But guys, we got one more awesome structure, so don't leave the video just yet. Let's check it out. Now, our final structure is genuinely something I thought they were going to add in the 1.14 update when they added campfires. So I still think that this has a very high chance of being added to the game sometime soon. And this is villager campsites. And essentially, these would replace villages inside spruce and taiga biomes. And I think they would just add a huge element of atmosphere and lovableness to these biomes. So as you can see, guys, we would have these villager-style tents that are like super medieval and classy looking. I think they would look absolutely awesome. There'd be a ton of sweet berries nearby, and it would just, I don't know, it just makes me feel like these villages have more of a story. They don't just live in villages, they also travel and explore themselves. I think that'd be absolutely an awesome concept to get your head around. So these would have tents, as you can see here, but they would also have like a small little docks or like a boat here, like a fishing area where you'd be able to fish for different fish, obviously. But also, you would have this little campsite just over here, and then a ton of foxes around here, as if, you know, this village, these villagers are traveling around with their own pack of foxes protecting them. I think that would be an awesome addition to the game, and also make it much easier to find hordes of foxes that you could go ahead and tame as your own. I mean, foxes are adorable, guys. Who wouldn't want to see more foxes in the game? So I'd like to imagine that the foxes actually go ahead and are traveling with these villagers. On top of that, guys, there would also be, occasionally, this wouldn't always occur, but you'd sometimes be able to find what I like to call a fox's den. And essentially, guys, this would be like a little fox area where, as you know, foxes can go ahead and hold items inside their mouth. I mean, this guy is holding a piece of leather right now. And essentially, the fox would go down here and start storing items that is picked up inside of its mouth and put them down inside the fox's den. So you guys can see there that the fox has actually placed a diamond down there. Oh, look, there is actually a fox right down there inside the fox's den right now, guys. He's hiding away. But I'd like to imagine that the fox would take things like strings, sweet berries, diamonds, stuff like that, and hide it in his fox's den. And that would be the equivalent of a blacksmith inside one of these, you know, traveling tent campsite villages, guys. Instead of having a blacksmith with loot, you would find a fox's den, and the fox's den would have varying degrees of loot depending on what the foxes have stolen away from themselves from the villages. The other thing you would be able to find in these campsite villages is something called, what I like to call anyway, the merchant guide. And this merchant guide would have essentially a ton of different maps to sell you. So if you guys check this out, you'd be able to trade for something like an outpost guide or a woodland mansion guide and other different types of maps depending on which campsite village you found. And essentially, this would mean you'd be able to find maps to get to ocean monuments, end cities, nether fortresses, all this kind of stuff. And that way you're not just looking aimlessly. This merchant guide would actually sell you these maps so you could actually know where you needed to go in order to find these structures in the game. And I think this would be a great way to encourage exploration, especially for players who have just opened up brand new worlds and don't want to spend, you know, literally forever searching for that one woodland mansion. Instead, you'd be able to get a map here from the merchant guide, and I just think that would make exploration a lot more enjoyable and fun to do. As far as loot inside of this village, we're talking your regular village loot. You'd be able to find these in barrels and stuff like that. So you guys can see here, you know, bread, maybe a sail, some arrows and stuff like that. But anyway, guys, this was our final structure. So that brings us to the end of today's video. If you want any of these structures added into the game in the next update, guys, you got to help me out. We got to get Mojang's attention, guys, get Microsoft's attention by leaving a like and subscribing on today's video. Share this video with all of your friends, because the more views this has, the more chance there is Microsoft will see this and add these structures into the game, guys. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, Eystreem out. Bye.